Alright, this is probably the third short little video I'm making while I'm out here investigating and scouting around. After traveling up the trail where it usually dead ends by the creek, I actually was able to cross the creek very carefully. The water was pretty deep. There was actually a narrow trail that follows or continues on beyond the creek. It's very narrow, it's very thick. And then I came across this clearing out here in the middle of the woods, and really took my time looking around. And man, I took some photos of some very interesting structures and some tree breaks and some formations that really stood out. And everything I found today, from all the structures and the formations I come across, they're all in clusters. I mean, nowhere else do you find them, but just in when you find one, there's usually right there. Look very carefully. I mean, that's what stands out and what makes it more interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, you got to understand the weather and what nature does. But when you understand what stands out, what nature doesn't do, that's when you know you're actually finding something. Sometimes I experienced the smell. If you watch my earlier video, that's something I never experienced out in the woods before. And I'm telling you, I'm out here in the area right now. It's very squatchy out here, and you don't know what's out here. And I tell you what, something I found out here, which I've only found in another area, probably half hour, 45 minutes away from here, in another area that I actually investigate and research. I had taken a picture. You'll see a lot of my postings later. And one of the things I found some, some droppings. And keep in mind, I'm very familiar with the different various animals and their scat and their droppings, especially deer. One thing I found that stood out, which is very similar to deer, but the droppings are very, very large. Probably about the size of marbles, maybe bigger. And looking at the deer tracks that I found in the area, I'm questioning them. Are they all deer, or could they possibly be elk tracks? Because there has been elk that's been released here in Virginia back in the 1960s and then later on in the 1980s. And there's a very good possibility that they are in the area. They may be a little rare compared to the white-tailed deer, but I have reason to believe that they're here. And the droppings that I found, I believe that maybe belong to them. And that's another thing I'm trying to study it as well, is if they're in here, I like to know how, their behaviors and their patterns as well. We could pretty much almost understand the common white-tailed deer, and another one is the bears. I still continue to observe and study the findings I come across for bears. I see a lot of bear signs. I know what bears do. I know their behaviors, and that's another thing. It's very important to get to know your average North American black bear, or any bear. But here it's very common we have the black bear. Pay very close attention to the black bear, their tracks, understand their tracks, front and rear paws, especially their rear paws. Their rear tracks are very commonly mistaken for Bigfoot tracks or juvenile tracks. So again, pay close attention to that, and that there will help you determine and know the difference between both the bear and a Sasquatch. There's some things that some people only assume on and don't know. That's what that's part of getting out here, being a wildlife researcher and a Bigfoot researcher. You want to understand and research your known wildlife. You got to understand wildlife, nature, and the weather. And then some people, if you're just getting into it, do a little bit of both. But I advise you to learn your wildlife and understand them know their tracks, understand their scat, how to identify, and their behaviors and patterns. This is something I speak openly. I speak very clear in my new book. You see me check out my blogs. I mean, I continually explain a lot of the same thing, and you know, sometimes I try to put it in different format, try to get the point across and get people to understand. So I hope this makes sense, and I hope you enjoy my little videos and my findings. I find them to be interesting, but I post them to share for discussion, and let you guys make your own conclusions. I do make blunt comments as fact, but then again, some things I'm not sure about. Okay? I'm not going to say that I know what everything, because I don't. And same goes with the highly educated scientists and the so-called know-it-alls. Don't let them fool you, because they don't know everything either. They have no proof of what their theories are. They have theories and cannot even prove things. That's what a researcher like I am out here working on trying to do, is to turn theories into facts, or correct what is said and to find if it's true or not. But I hope you really enjoyed this. I hope my findings and everything make sense to you, and I hope you learned something from it. Any questions, you can find me on Facebook all the time. I'm here for you. It's what I want to do. I want to educate people and bring awareness to you. And it's what the ECBRO is all about. So, till next time, God bless and have a wonderful day.